Hello, welcome to the Small Caps podcast. I'm Peter Capsanis. Well, we're only days away from Christmas, but there seems to be no rest for several ASX listed junior explorers, with drilling campaigns flying left, right, and centre. One of those companies whose focus on drilling down on what lies beneath is Perth-based Estrella Resources, which has two nickel projects, one north and one south of Calgary Boulder, ironically regarded as Australia's gold capital. Now, to tell us more on all things Estrella, I'm joined by Managing Director Chris Daws. Chris, welcome to Small Caps.
Peter, pleasure to be here, having me on Small Caps.
Yes.
And season greetings to your listeners.
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed. Now, Chris, can you give me a quick overview of Estrella and the Carr Boyd nickel project, which I understand is the shining star and focus for now? What's the scale and size of the project?
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Estrella Resources is a junior WA-based nickel explorer. Our major or key project, Carr Boyd Nickel Project, located some 80 kilometres northeast of the city of Calgary Boulder. It's a nickel sulphide project that was discovered in the 60s and 70s nickel boom by WMC and was mined for a period of time in relatively high nickel prices. Was shut after about 4 years of operation, and Western Mining reverted back into the Kambalda district and Leinster districts. And I guess Carr Boyd became an orphan for a number of years, changed hands, and we came along in 2017 and picked the project up to focus again on the exploration prospectivity of this intrusive complex. We also have a number of nickel deposits at Kambalda, 25 kilometres west of, at a place called Spargaville. That's secondary to our key exploration activities at Carr Boyd at this point.
Okay. So you've also recently been collaborating with the CSIRO. So that's pretty impressive. What's all that about?
Yeah, look, thanks, Peter. The CSRO are fairly active in collaborating with exploration groups in Western Australia at the moment. And they have certainly one of the leading nickel sulphide professionals in Steve Barnes. In fact, he's come out of retirement to specifically look at some of these nickel sulphide projects. They've been out at Carr Boyd working with our key nickel team in Steve Warner and Neil Hutchinson, both 20 years plus of nickel exploration. And they're giving us some key insights into where we should really be looking for the next new big discovery at Carr Boyd. What's very key that's come out of those discussions and what we've known for some time is that the basal contact of the intrusive complexes is where you want to look for nickel. You've got to have three key ingredients. You've got to have the magma and the intrusion, which obviously flows through to surface, and that hosts and holds the nickel and copper metals within it. You need a sulphur assimilation that occurs, and that basically is assimilated through the country rocks that the intrusion is pushing up through. And then and then it assimilates, and that creates the metal sulfides. And then you need a trap site, and that trap site, genuinely, gravity is your friend, will be sitting down on the basal contact. So globally, 99% of the world's nickel sulfide deposits and ore is located on these basal contacts. And we have some 30 kilometres of known basal contact that we're now testing at Carr Boyd, and it's quite incredible that the project's been known about for 50 years, yet there has been no deep exploratory work on this basal contact. And as we found our second deep diamond hole in August, September of 2020 and made a significant nickel sulphide discovery at T5, we found that certainly is the place to look, and we have continued to look for the past 12 or 14 months. In fact, we haven't stopped drilling at that basal contact, and we're certainly getting all of the encouragement that we would expect of a highly fertile basal contact, and we are looking for that next big nickel sulphide discovery at Carr Boyd.
Okay, well, it's a good segue to my next question, because you've recently completed, expanded on your fourth drilling campaign. What kind of hits are we talking about? How encouraging are they so far for you?
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Good question. We have been, from the early days of T5, our hole 30 intersected 3.2 metres at over 3% massive nickel copper sulphide. But that was in a zone of sulphides in excess of 30 or 40 metres of sulphides, right from disseminated right through to the massive sulphide. So that particular hole gave us the encouragement of seeing that the sulphide, the typical sulphide accumulations that you would expect to find occurring, i.e. the sulphides going from disseminated, so semi-massive to massive sulphide right on the contact, is in existence in Carr Boyd basal contact. So we've come in now and we've started a number of drill programs where we've expanded our now 4th campaign. As I said, we haven't stopped drilling for the past 12 months. We've had 2 rigs on site, both RC and diamond, and we've been going fairly well, hammer and tongs at it for a good 12 months. Most of the drilling at T5, we've intersected significant nickel sulphides. We haven't been able to locate a significant pool of massive sulphide yet, and I emphasise yet because we do believe that it will exist. The amount of sulphides that we are seeing, and certainly the size of the intrusion itself, is obviously very large in aerial size, some 75 square kilometres. We do expect that on this basal contact there will be a trap site that will accumulate massive sulphides to give us an ore body of economic dimensions, and that's what we're looking for. And to give you a sense of scale, we're only drilling an inch of rock in the diamond drill hole. We're drilling them down to about circa 600 metres. We're in these sulphide zones, but we have an enormous area to cover from that surface down to the Goldilocks zone, I guess, down to that 1,200 metres where you can potentially mine the ore body, and then along the entire basal contact, and there's some 30 kilometres of basal contact to test. So obviously drilling an inch hole and testing it, we need to step at regular intervals and test the basal contact, and then we're using downhole geophysics to then try and locate where these pools of sulphides might be lurking. And we're using all of that, obviously, background geology and that modelling of the geological environment to actually pinpoint where this trap site may be. And obviously, as we mentioned previously about the CSRO and doing vectors and et cetera, trying to home in on that trap site and basal contact. We're looking for something in excess of 100,000 nickel tonnes in our drilling. That's the size of the ore body that we're looking for. It's a big target, but it can hide in a very small area. And if I give an example, Nova Bollinger, some 300 metres by 600 metres in extent, that's the sort of thing we're trying to find. So we're drilling at the moment from T5 discovery, which is about 1.5 kilometres from the Carr Boyd Rocks nickel mine. It was mined in the 70s. We're looking at a zone on the current intrusive that we're testing is some 3.5 kilometres. So a 300 metre to 400 metre zone of nickel sulphides can hide quite easily in that. And as such, we have to just consistently test and test and test. And the drilling is the only way that we realistically see in being able to determine where this pool of sulphides will be. But we are getting there. We are certainly getting a good feeling about where we are in the system, and our drill holes are turning up nickel sulphides, and it won't be before too long before we actually have that success or breakthrough discovery hole, I think, into a brand new high-grade nickel sulphide discovery.
Okay, well, your confidence is quite high then, and obviously you've been buoyed by these hits. So in terms of the longevity or the scope of the project, coupled now with more drilling, I'm assuming, for 2022, you've mentioned that you haven't stopped for the last 12 months in terms of your drilling. Obviously, you've got those rigs on standby 24/7 by the sounds of it. So I guess what I'm saying is, it sounds like you're feeling you're close, and there's more on the way.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. We're getting very close. We're obviously closing out the areas that we that we have been testing, but it can't hide forever. We know it's there somewhere. We're very confident that it is there. The drilling certainly will be ongoing right up until the Christmas break on the 20. I think we all break out on the 24th on Christmas Eve. I've got them working right up until Christmas Eve, and then we'll be back in the new year. The rigs will stand down for a couple of weeks while they do some maintenance and routine maintenance, and we'll be back on the 4th or 5th or 6th of January with both rigs hammering away again at the targets that we have. And we've got extensive targets to test. We currently have the diamond rig turning at on our western basal contact that's been identified by the CSRO at Mosquil, and those diamond holes will continue to go down and test some 2.5 kilometres of contact there. We're fully funded. We were funded back in July of some $11 million, and that money will see us well into the new year. We've got about $4 million of options in the money. We've got an R&D program and some funding back from that in the next 6 to 8 months as well. So we're well funded to keep this program running, and it's just going to be time and holes as far as we're concerned before we make that breakthrough.
We were talking off camera before about your long family history and connection to Kalgoorlie and the goldfields, from your grandparents to your dad, all have had a heavy involvement with community and civic duties over many decades. Does Estrella and the project and its close proximity to Kalgoorlie Boulder, is that is that something that you're trying to a stronger connection and something you're trying to leverage off in terms of the close history? Is it something more meaningful and personal for you?
Yeah, look, it is a bit of an interesting question there that you pose there, Peter. I mean, obviously I have Kalgoorlie blood running through my veins, and I've been in the mining game for in excess of now some 25 years, either funding junior explorers or being involved with them in a public or private sense. And certainly my father has for the past 40, 45 years. And we have a strong affiliation with Kalgoorlie Boulder and the city of Kalgoorlie Boulder, and it's a really, really great place to operate. In terms of service providers, etc., you can't get much better than Kalgoorlie Boulder. I mean, it's world class. You have access to drill rigs, you have access to personnel, and it's not a harsh environment to actually operate from. 80 kilometres northeast of Kalgoorlie Boulder, it's an hour flight from Perth, and you can get personnel in and out of Kalgoorlie Boulder very, very easily. And you can get equipment and operating. We've got an exploration camp that we built in pretty good time and pretty good pricing because of its location and our ability to contact, and our contacts within the industry within Kalgoorlie Boulder are obviously quite immense, having grown up and been in the industry for some time there. So it's a great place to operate in our backyard. We know how and where we should be going for certain things. We truly believe that the region of Kalgoorlie Boulder, the northeastern goldfields, is a great place to be looking for any form of mineral products, whether they be gold, nickel. We've seen lithium and battery metals, which is proving to be enormous in the region. We think it's an absolute fantastic place to operate, and we know how to operate there. So we'll continue to do that. I think any successful exploration program and then building of a new nickel mine will be an easy process for us, knowing where we're situated and what we can do in our own backyard.
Yeah, okay. Beautifully said. So we've got a reasonable picture of Estrella's projects. I mean, we haven't touched too much on Spargaville, south of Kalgoorlie. Did you want to perhaps quickly touch base in terms of what lies down there?
Yeah, Spargaville still is a fantastic project for Estrella. It still holds an enormous amount of potential and value, although Carr Boyd's probably put it in the shadows slightly. We believe that obviously with what's happening in the Kambalda district in general, you would have seen BHP Billiton has restarted the nickel concentrator at Kambalda for processing third-party ores, and Mincor are due to pass through their first ores at for Cassini to run through in the March quarter, I believe, next year, and their northern nickel operations restarting Long and the Durkin operations. So there's a huge opportunity to find more nickel sulphide ores to run through that nickel concentrator, and there's been a number of groups that are certainly looking for and searching for the extensions of known nickel sulphide ore bodies in that Kambalda district, in which we have 4, and those 4 being the 1A nickel mine, which was an open pit, the Andrews mine, which was quite a deep shaft operation, ran down to 300 metres and was mined by, I believe, BP Minerals or Cell Trust, I believe, in the 70s. And we've got 2 other deposits, 5A and 5B. All of those projects still open at depth. They have EM conductors open. They are atypical komatiite-hosted nickel sulphide ore bodies that were simply not mined to their full extent due to nickel prices running down in the periods that they were operating in the 70s and 80s. And obviously there wasn't a lot of work done on them in the 90s. So in the backdrop of the extremely good nickel prices that we have now and going forward, those operations or those projects look extremely valuable and favourable for further nickel exploration and potentially development. And that's something we're really mindful of. But unfortunately, there's only so much a junior mining company can do with limited resources. And as such, we're just looking at the appropriate time before we extract maximum value from those particular projects and ore bodies.
Limited resources, but maximum value. You are a junior explorer, but with a burgeoning positive story on the horizon. So for anyone wanting to buy in on Estrella, this shining star, what's your message to those potential investors? Why should mum and dad investors want to invest in your company?
Yeah, look, thanks, Peter. Look, the bottom line is we're one drill hole away from a significant discovery. We've got a world-class environment that we're operating in. We've had success already with the drill bit, and that's shown how significant a rise or value that can occur from discovering nickel sulphides. We've got an extremely good management team and nickel sulphide exploration geological team that is working around the clock to make this new discovery. We're operating in an extremely good backdrop in the northeastern goldfields. And as I said, it's just time and holes from here. We're well funded and we're just getting on with the job, and hopefully in the new year we'll be able to report to the shareholders and potentially those new investors some very, very, very exciting and excellent news on a world-class discovery.
Well, we'll certainly wait and look forward to hearing news about this exciting one drill hole away from this world-class ore body. Chris Daws, Estrella Resources Managing Director, thanks for your time today and have a great Christmas and a wonderful New Year.
Thanks, Peter. Most appreciated, and you too, and to your listeners, thanks very much.